the Minnesota Senate K-12 Education Working Group with our friends from across the street, our House members. It is Thursday, May 22nd, and it's just a little bit after 2 p.m. I think before we start, it might be helpful to the public if we just went through and did a really quick introduction of who we are, and then we'll get to business. So Senator Gustafson, would you begin?
Heather Gustafson, Senate.
Senator Aaron McQuaid, Senate Vice Chair of Education Policy.
Steve Swedzinski, Chair Ed Policy.
Jason Rarick.
Senate.
Jason Rarick, Senate, Republican Lead Education Finance.
Bjorn Arneson, Senate Nonpartisan Analyst.
Anne-Marie Lewis, Senate Nonpartisan Counsel.
Jenna Hover, Senate Nonpartisan Fiscal.
Mary Kunish, Chair of Education Finance in the Senate.
Cheryl Joachim, State Representative and Co-Chair of the House Education Finance Committee.
Sydney Jordan, House DFL Education Policy Lead, Chair.
Mary Frances Clardy, House Co-Vice Chair, Finance.
Representative Patricia Mueller, House Co-Vice Chair of Policy.
Ben Bakeberg, I represent representative in the House, co-vice chair of Ed Finance.
Jody Withers, House Republican Caucus, Education.
Mars Beltrandi Redquist, DFL Caucus in the House Research Department.
Solveig Beckel, Nonpartisan House Fiscal Analysis.
Tim Strom, House Research.
Christina Para, House Research.
Thank you, everyone. And I think online we have Senator Coleman, if you're there. She might have a few little toddlers running around, so if she wants to chime in at any point, please don't hesitate to do that. All right, next we're going to just do a quick walkthrough of policy items as agreed to by Senate File 1740 in the Conference Committee, and I will ask our nonpartisan to do that.
Madam Chair, members, I believe the packets have a document JFK 25-01. That's the language that's for the policy, and then there's a accompanying summary that I believe was in the packets. So Article 1 is titled General Education. The first section relates to attendance and to whom a parent would submit a child for an excused absence. It's changing it from a member of the school board to be a truant officer or a school official designated by the principal. Then Section 2 is on page 3 at the top. That is another attendance provision, and it talks about when a district must count a student in attendance, and that's each day that the student receives supervision, instruction, or services from the school staff. Another attendance provision, Section 3, is about enrollment or re-enrollment of a student if they were enrolled previously, then not enrolled, and that they're otherwise eligible for enrollment and haven't been enrolled in another school. There's notice to the superintendent, and then that notice is can be made available to authorized representatives of a county. Then Section 4 is a compilation of all sections of statute that relate to attendance. Then that moves us to page 6. And there's several provisions that clarify the PSEO statutes about charter school students being eligible for those programs. So that's Section 5, Section 6. Section 7 is actually striking language from the PSEO statutes that's obsolete. Section 8 is an update to the Online Learning Act and making a clarifying change on page 9 about state-operated schools being supplemental online course providers. Section 9 is about adult basic education and moving them to a 6-year program approval from 5 years. And Section 10 is the provision regarding Labor Day start for schools just for the 2026-27 and 27-28 school years, allowing districts to start on or after September 1st. That's Article 1. Moving on to Article 2.
Excuse me, pardon, just real quick question. I just noticed none of these items are posted online for the public to see that aren't here. So could we take a pause until those get posted? And maybe we can find out if our co-chair, Krisha, if he is able to get in online. We weren't given that option, or to have our co-chair Bennett, who's Ed Policy co-chair, here is either.
Yes, we can pause. Maybe we want to just take a minute and review what we have done in this past week as we do our best to put together good finance for our public schools. Chair Joachim, would you like to give a little review?
Actually, real briefly, but then I think we can recess while we wait for the postings. No, we've been working really hard since we got the targets right after we passed the bill off the House floor, and when we rolled right into working groups after the regular session. We all know how important it is to make sure our schools are funded this year, and that's our focus, is to get that funding and that spreadsheet locked up. And I'm very happy about the work that our co-chairs, co-chair Representative Jordan and co-chair Representative Bennett have done together, along with Chair Swazinski in the Senate on the policy bill, and I'm sure also Minority Lead Coleman. So I just wanted to make sure, I'm sure it won't take long to post the articles online for those that, you know, all those people that watch us from home, right? I know there's not many, but I know that some of the folks that are interested in this and part of the education organizations might not all be here and might want to see it online as well.
You know, I can understand we might need a recess, but this isn't a hearing and there isn't any testimony. So we'll get that posted, and any folks that are looking to get that information online, they can always reread what we've just put out and then reach out to any of us with any of your questions. So if you'd like to continue, Ms. Lewis, or is it Mr. Bjorn?
Madam Chair and members, I think Christina, Ms. Parra is going to do.
Oh, Ms. Parra, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Article 2 is the Education Excellence article. Section 1 encourages districts and charter schools to provide instruction on healthy aging and dementia to students in grades 6 through 12, aligned with applicable health standards. Section 2 requires the cannabis and substance abuse submodel program identified by the commissioner to include content on overdose recognition, prevention, and response. Section 3 includes physical abuse on the subjects that a school may voluntarily integrate into a violence prevention curriculum. Section 4 requires the commissioner to report language development outcomes of target languages of instruction other than English for students in dual immersion programs or other programs related to language. Sections 5 and 6 relate to the student bullying statute. Section 5 provides that a parent or guardian can designate another individual to receive notifications about prohibited conduct. And Section 6 clarifies that the department has authority to assess and evaluate, not investigate, noncompliance with school student bullying requirements. Sections 7, 8, and 9 relate to epinephrine in schools. They update the terminology from epinephrine autoinjectors to epinephrine delivery systems, and also require the Commissioner of Health to provide a district or school with a standing order for distribution of these epinephrine delivery systems. Section 10 authorizes a district or charter school to allow a student, a high school student, to possess and administer an opiate antagonist to another student. Section 11 removes the requirement that PELSB, which is the Professional Educator Licensing and Standards Board, to annually report certain performance of teacher candidates to the legislature. Section 12 is a technical correction to a 24 session law. Section 13 amends the short call substitute teacher pilot program to eliminate the expiration and modifies the compensation of the participating substitute teachers. It also limits the duration of the short call emergency substitute teacher assignment. Section 14 encourages a school board to adopt a process to include student representation to advise the school board. Section 15 allows a district to dispose of surplus school books by donating them to a family of a student in the district or a charitable organization. Section 16 provides a one-year extension to implement the requirements of the kindergarten entry assessment. Section 17 requires Minnesota Math Corps to use evidence-based instructional support and accelerate student learning on foundational math skills, and also defines evidence-based. And Section 18 is a repealer of a subdivision relating to active transportation safety training deadlines. And Madam Chair, that is Article 2.
Thank you, Ms. Parra. And Mr. Bjorn.
Madam Chair, members, Article 3 is the charter school articles, and this article consists mostly of items that were in the Senate charter school article. Section 1 adds members of charter school board, director, or chief administrator to the definition of official for purposes of the public official gift ban. Section 2 provides a definition of competitive procurement in the charter school definition section. That the kind of operative language is later in this article, and I'll make note of that when we get there. Further, the Section 2 clarifies that a charter school market need and demand study must include information relating to all the proposed grades, et cetera, for the school or additional school site. Section 3 relates to requirements of a charter school to comply with all the requirements under Chapter 120B, not only those relating to state standards and assessments. Section 4 is another section relating to gift bans, and this makes charter school board members and people employed as directors or chief administrators subject to the gift bans under state law. Section 5 relates to the requirements for authorizers, and it requires the charter school authorizer to include information in its annual report regarding the commissioner's performance review of the authorizer. And further, on the last line of page 31 of the document requires the authorizer to participate in annual department-approved training. Section 6 relates to charter school mergers and requires that the merged school and its authorizer execute a new contract by June 1st preceding the effective date of the merger, which would be July 1st in this case. Section 7 on the middle of page 32 relates to requirements upon change in location of a charter school, and would require a charter school to apply to its authorizer to change the location of the school and require additional documentation for the authorizer's review. Section 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 actually all relate to charter school boards. Section 8, which begins on page 32, strikes language regarding the timing of charter school board elections. This stricken language is recreated in a later section, and I'll note that when I get there. Section 9, relating to membership criteria of a charter school board of directors. The new language is all the way on the bottom, on the top of page 34 of the document. and would prohibit an individual who has violated the law against serving on more than one charter board at the same time from continuing to serve as a board member, and further makes them ineligible to serve in that way for 24 months. And the last paragraph, the new paragraph I, provides that a charter school board member who is compensated for serving on the board must not be compensated in an amount greater than a school board member in that district. Section 10 on page 34 is the section that kind of recodifies that language stricken earlier. And the new paragraph F would require charter school board members to file an oath of office with the authorizer. Section 11 relates to duties of a charter school board of directors. The new language near the bottom of page 35 would require a charter school board of directors to establish a finance committee, provides for certain statutory duties of that committee, and requires a school that's under corrective action for financial reasons to involve the school's authorizer in the meetings of that committee, and lastly, upon request of the authorizer, hire a financial expert. Section 12 begins on the bottom of page 35 and relates to causes for non-renewal or termination of a charter school contract. The amendment to this section is at 36.13 and requires that the hearing must be live streamed in addition to the current requirement that it be recorded by audio, video, or a court reporter. Section 13 relates to the Affiliated Nonprofit Building Corporation, or ABC sometimes, and requires that a contractor or other interested parties must not serve on the board of a charter school's ABC, and also requires that a charter school employee or immediate family member of the employee may serve on the ABC board if that employee has no conflict of interest. Section 14 on page 38 is a provision relating to an audit report and would require that a charter school annually submit all supplemental information included in its audit to the commissioner and its authorizer, in addition to the audit itself. And clarifies that the supplemental information must include any management agreement with a charter management or CMO or an educational management organization or EMO. Section 15 on the middle of page 39 is new language regarding authorized performance evaluation reporting, and requires a charter school to publish on the charter school's website the formal written performance evaluation from its authorizer and share that information to enrolled families. Section 16, regarding dissemination of information. The new language begins on the top of page 40 and would require an authorizer to publish on its website information about the charter contracts, performance reviews, notices to terminate, et cetera, for the schools in that authorizer's portfolio. It would require a charter school to post a link from the charter school website to this information on the authorizer's website, and upon request of the authorizer, distribute certain information to charter school employees and families of enrolled students. Section 17 on page 41, regarding required policy components for charter school procurement policy. This relates back to the definition provided earlier in this article. And it clarifies that charter school procurement procedures, including requirements for procurement by sealed bids or proposals. And then section 18 provides a new definition for what this competitive procurement process looks like, including procurement by sealed bids in paragraph A and procurement by proposals in the new paragraph B. And finally, section 19 on page 42 was a provision carried both in the House and Senate bill, and would direct the reviser to recodify an existing subdivision regarding public accounting and reporting of these CMO and EMO agreements. And Madam Chair, that concludes the charter schools summary.
Thank you so much, Mr. Arneson. Ms. Parr again?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Article 4 begins on page 43. It's the Education Innovation article, and this was an article that came from the House Education Policy Bill. Section 1 modifies the experiential and applied learning opportunities for students section, and it clarifies that the commissioner is not authorized to approve or deny a school board adopted program under that section. Sections 2 and 3 relate to the PTEC program. Section 2 allows a school board to adopt a PTEC program without commissioner approval. And Section 3 clarifies that the commissioner is not authorized to approve or deny a locally adopted PTEC plan. That language applies only to grants. Section 4 directs the reviser to codify a new chapter of statutes relating to education innovation and also codifies the innovation zone session law in the new chapter. And Madam Chair, that is Article 4.
Thank you. Short and sweet. Ms. Lewis? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, members, Article 5 is special education, and the first section is related to the language access plans that school districts will have at the beginning of the 2025-2026 school year. And the change requires them to have a process and procedure for communication with parents or that need additional assistance due to their own disability. Section 2 on page 46 is an additional requirement with the related to the language access plan and includes communication for folks that might have special education or related individualized education programs, and ensure that there's meaningful participation in that process by the families, where this family might speak a language that's other than English or has a disability, as well as a process to appeal the accommodations from that access plan. Then Section 3 is codifying the state complaint process. That's for a parent or other individual to file a complaint with the state education agency, alleging that the local education agency or the school has not complied with the special education laws. That's the end of Article 5. Then I continue on with Article 6. There's one section, it's related to school nutrition, and that is just correcting a citation to the Code of Federal Regulations. And that's on the bottom of page 48.
Back to Ms. Parra.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Article 7 is the state agencies article. The first 3 sections amend the Data Practices Act. Section 1 requires educational agencies or institutions sharing personal student contact information and directory information for students in special education to comply with federal requirements for parental consent. Section 2 is one of the first of a number of sections relating to the Office of Inspector General at the Department of Education, or OIG. So this section requires data used in an investigation by the OIG to be maintained as confidential or protected non-public data and not be disclosed except under specified circumstances. It requires the data to be classified as public data upon submission to court in a civil or criminal proceeding, or when the investigation is no longer active except as required by other law. It allows the existence of an investigation by the OIG or withholding of payment by the commissioner to be disclosed if the commissioner, after consulting with the OIG, determines it will not compromise the investigation. Section 3 adds the OIG to the list of agencies that carry a law enforcement function. Section 4 requires the Department of Education to adopt standards, academic standards, through the regular rulemaking process rather than the expedited rulemaking process. Section 5 modifies a reporting requirement relating to teacher mentorship. Section 5, now we're getting into the OIG sections. Section 6 adds preventing and detecting theft to the purpose and duties of the OIG. Section 7 modifies a definition of abuse. It defines excluded and modifies the definition of fraud and provides examples. Section 8 requires program participants to give the OIG immediate access without prior notice to any locations of potential record storage and the records themselves, and any records related to a department program. It also provides that denying access to requested records is cause for immediate suspension of payment, and allows the OIG to copy any record related to a department program. Section 9 modifies the grounds for sanctions. Section 10 modifies cross-references to data practices statutes and strikes audit data from the list of types of data governed by these cross-reference statutes. Section 11 provides immunity from civil liability to a person making a good faith report or participating in an investigation. It requires the reporter's name and identifying information to be kept confidential after an investigation is complete. Section 12 provides that this subdivision does not authorize reducing or pausing state or federal aid to a district charter school, cooperative unit, library system, library, or library district, and it establishes requirements for and consequences of excluding a participant from a department program. Section 13 requires the commissioner to provide a program participant notice when excluding the participant from a department program. Section 14 allows a program participant excluded from that program to request the contested case hearing. Section 15 relates to withholding of payments, and it provides that withholding is not authorized for state or federal aid to a district charter cooperative unit, library, library system, or library district. It requires the Inspector General to recommend to the Commissioner to withhold payments to a participant if there's credible allegation of fraud or theft for which an investigation is pending, and requires the Commissioner to notify the participant when withholding payments. It also prohibits appeals of withholding of payments. Section 16 requires the county auditor to certify by February 1st to the Commissioner of Education the amount of any excess tax increment that accrued to the district during the preceding year. Section 17 modifies a reporting requirement relating to the Alternative Teacher Preparation Grant Program. Section 18 adds the OIG to a list of agencies that can receive data from the Unemployment Insurance Program without the consent of the subject of the data for investigations relating to fraud, theft, waste, and abuse or other misuse of public funds. And Madam Chair, that is the article in the bill.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, all of you, for sharing that with us. I'm wondering if our chairs, both in the House and the Senate, would like to make any comment about this document. Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to start my comments with thank yous. Thank you to Chair Swedzinski, and thank you to Representative and Chair Bennett for your work. This document, the JFK 2501, represents a lot of work done by both of our committees in the House and Senate, and a really good faith effort. So as much as I really want to thank us, I also want to thank our staff who made it possible for us to work through very different documents and balance the needs of the House and the needs of the Senate and the needs of the executive branch. So thank you to Christina Parra, Anne Marie Lewis, and Bjorn Arneson, our nonpartisan staff. And thank you also to Jody Withers, Mars Beltrandi-Redquist, and Tristan Vogley, who were our partisan staff who shepherded us through this and helped us see how we could come together. This was a good process. Everything in the JFK 2501 represents the work that is agreed to by the House GOP, the House DFL, and the Senate. This is all work that has been vetted by our community and puts our kids first. So it's a very good proposal. The JFK 2501 ensures that no child, regardless of their background, is left behind, and that our schools have the ability to serve all children. There's a lot of provisions in here from the House. There's a lot of provisions in here from the Senate, but the majority of the bill is work that we had done collaboratively in our own bodies and came together to make a really good document. So again, I just want to end with thanking everyone who, has been working on this bill in some ways for many years. There's proposals in here that I'm really excited about. There's great work that was done by Representative Bakeberg and Representative Keeler, who worked really hard on attendance and worked with many external stakeholders. There's a lot of great work in here that Senator Swedzinski did to make sure that charter schools have the transparency needs that our parents and students are asking for. So thank you for this process, and thank you to our finance chair's consideration of the work that we did in our conference committee and for including it as part of our negotiations here in Education Finance. So thank you, Chair Kunish.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. And Senator Swedzinski, a word or two?
Well, a word or two might be limiting me a little bit, but thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo a couple things that Chair Jordan said. And one is, if anybody in the audience or watching online has any friends or family that are staff here at the Capitol, make sure you give them some grace over these coming days. They're putting in a lot of hours and a lot of time, and I am, as we all are, eternally grateful for all the people that are working behind the scenes that Chair Jordan mentioned. We in Ed Policy spent about 7 hours on the first day trying to work out the side-by-sides in the in the Senate and the House policy bill. There were about 4 or 5 things we couldn't agree to. We met the next day for about 2 hours, and there was only one thing we just couldn't reach agreement on, which I'll talk about in a second. But some people say that lawmaking is like sausage making, and you shouldn't watch it being made. And this last week or two in this body has reminded me that lawmaking is nothing like sausage making. It's like a wedding cake or a skyscraper or a symphony, and at every step of the way it's a thing to behold, because it's just a work that some people give a lot, and some try to give even more, and it's just it's a wonderful process to behold, and I'm grateful and privileged to be part of that process. This ed policy bill isn't maybe as robust as some of us had liked, but that's part of the process of how a bill becomes a law 101. Again, I just want to thank Chair Jordan and Bennett. Our team couldn't have been any, I don't know how we could have gotten along any better than we did. And so the couple quick issues, the charter schools that we have worked so hard with and to try to accommodate. I think the 3 of us walked into the meeting going, charter schools, because they're laboratories of innovation, we shouldn't be stifling that innovation, and yet charter schools should be held to the same standards as our traditional schools, traditional public schools have. The Office of Inspector General is a great part of the bill as well, and I thank Chair Bennett and Chair Jordan again for their work on bringing that to fruition. And the early start dates, just a balancing act. And some people are for it, some people are adamantly opposed, but it's 2 years, it's permissive, and we'll see if it works, and if after 2 years it was a bad idea, we can always change it. And the last thing I just want to say, if any of you have strong opinions, either for or against what seclusion rooms are that issue, if you will, we're still working on it. It's a classic compromise, I think, so far, but it's not where many of us want to be just yet. So be patient with us on that one. And with all that said, that was a word or two. Thank you, Chair Kunish.
Thank you, Senator Swedzinski. Next, we're going to do a little walkthrough of some of our same and similars. You should all have a page, and I think they were distributed or put out there for any of you to grab. And so I'm wondering, is it Mr. Arneson?
Madam Chair, members, the same and similar no-cost items are number only 8. So it's a 2-sided document. Each of these provisions were either identical in both the House and Senate side, or in the case of one, had been previously agreed to in the agreement that we just walked through. The first same item is a provision in House Article 1, Section 10, Senate Article 1, Section 20, relating to the required reserve for alternative attendance programs. That was the same in both the House and Senate. Second item is House Article 1, Section 15, Senate Article 1, Section 22, and making a clarification to the aeronautics pilot program grant award eligible expenditures. That was the same in both chambers. The next one is this Minnesota Math Corps program provision that wasn't identical in both the House and Senate Finance bill, but was a position that the policy negotiators agreed to, and what they agreed to is the House position in House Article 2, Section 1. The next item is relates to full-service community schools and the availability of the appropriation. That was House Article 2, Section 2, identical language carried in Senate Article 2, Section 11. The last row on page 1 is the first of 3 relating to commissioner review and comment requirements. These were the same in both the House and Senate. And the first one relating to review and comment is House Article 6, Section 5. The second relating to the review and comment authority or requirement for school building lease levy projects is in House Article 6, Section 6. The last identical provision in this group is House Article 6, Section 7, defining some terms for purposes of the building lease levy program. And finally, the last row on page 2 of this document is a provision relating to levy authority for ice arena levies that are, for arenas that are used cooperatively by more than one school district, and would provide authority for those districts to apportion the levy among themselves. That was in House Article 6, Section 8, and Senate Article 6, Section 14.
Thank you, Mr. Arneson. Any comments or questions? All right. That kind of wraps up what we have for you here today. Rest assured that we are working very hard on our education finance bill. There's a lot to go through, a lot of processing going on both in the House and in the Senate. And if anything should become available now more for the public, we will definitely let you know. And with that, we are in recess.